Hey, besties. So, my self-made silk hankies are finally dry. So I thought I'd spin them up today. I, of course, couldn't resist picking at them because, that's just me. The edges are, let's see if you can see that. They're very thick with fiber at the edges. So I've been poking at them. So we're going to pull these off the frame today and we're going to spin them. And this should be fun. Let's give it a go. So I put on my spinning apron because, of course, I'm going to get silk all over me. That's the way it always goes. Oops, we need a bobbin. So let's get this on here first. Silk is already clinging to everything. Oh, I love silk, but it can be such a pain to spin. Okay. All right. So we're going to take them off our little frame here. And of course, because I've been picking at them, they're not the smoothest cocoons, but we'll pull this one off. All right, and now I'm just going to draft it out. Okay, I'm just going to rough draft it for now. And we'll set these aside. And we'll add some twist to make this yarn. I have this habit with silk of spinning it super fine. And I don't know why I do that with silk and not with other fibers, but there it is. So I'm going to try to make it a little bit thicker. Now, because again, this is not top, so it's going to have little nets in it, and I am fine with that. It's actually not sticking to my hands too badly yet. I may have spoke too soon, but there we have it. Okay, so there's our first hanky spun. And I think I have 5 or 6 of them in the stack. But there you can see how it looks. Now I wanted to also spin these cocoons. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to soak them in hot water for about 10 minutes. And I'm going to spin straight off the cocoons. So I'm going to get some hot water and get these soaking while we spin up the other 5 silk hankies. And then we're going to try spinning these onto it and see how it turns out. It's an experiment. It worked well when I was just drawing it at the counter. So let's see if it'll work at the wheel. So I'm going to get the hot water and we'll get these soaking. All right, so my cocoons have been soaking in here. I was just using this bowl to weigh them down, but the water's really hot, so I'm just gonna pluck a few out and let them cool. Now, this color bleed is because I'm using hot water. I am abusing these cocoons. The colors are gorgeous and probably quite color fast if you're using them in a felting project. But, you know, I abuse things. So I'm going to let those cocoons cool for a little bit so I can handle them. And then we're going to spin right off the cocoon. And I'll give you a nice up close look at that. All right, I wanted to get you in nice and close. So here's our cocoons. Just got them in a towel to absorb the wet. All right, so let's start with the green one. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab onto the edge here, kind of pull it out. I may not have let these soak long enough. They're still pretty hard. Okay, so we'll try a blue one. It doesn't want to rip either. All right, maybe a purple one. Yeah, I need to let these soak longer. Okay, these ones are going back in the pot. And I'll just grab a different one. Okay, so this one's been soaking longer. Let's see if it'll go. Nope. Apparently I have to let them soak a lot longer. This one is soaked long enough. You can see that the fibers are starting to come off. So what I'm going to do is just attach those fibers. And then I'm going to just pull those fibers off the cocoon. There's Bobble coming to see what we're doing. Okay, this is not focusing, so let's go there and see if that'll focus better. Okay, so you can see how I'm just pinching at the cocoon, pulling, drafting, and letting the twist in. And I think this is so cool. I'm just turning the cocoon as I go. Okay. Now we're losing our strand here. So I'm just kind of picking at the cocoon. Get the strand started again. And go some more. Okay. I'm going to decrease my uptake a little bit here. All right, let's see if we can get some more off this cocoon. There we go. We can get it to rip a bit. There. All right. So here we go. So we've started ripping off the edge here. So we're gonna join. And then we're going to draft that. Now, the silk being wet doesn't seem to be affecting the drafting, which is a good thing. So I'm literally at this point just pulling off the base of the cocoon from where it was cut open and just spinning that. And I got to tell you, this is kind of fun. It's actually easier than spinning off a hanky. It's not sticking to my hands because it's controlled. But the silk does still have the saracen in it. I haven't gotten that out. So it's going to have a very different hand when it's dry. I'm not sure exactly what that's going to look like, but we'll find out when we get there. A big chunk came off there, so we're going to draft that out. And that will make some naps, and I am fine with that. You know, I love texture. Okay. So let's kind of straighten this out a bit. And we'll pull and pull and pull. That got really thin. Let's go back and add on to that. Okay. Now I think we're getting pretty much to the end of what we're going to be able to pull off of this cocoon. Let's just try a little more here. There we go. Got a little bit of drafting started there. This is actually very interesting. It's a very different way to spin, and it's definitely getting very neppy now. But I'm still okay with that because we are just farting around here. Okay, I think I'm going to call that done. So we got the majority of the cocoon spun. So let's grab another one and give it another go. So now we have a blue one here. I'm just going to squeeze the water out of it. Oop, cat hair. The cats want to contribute their personal silk. All right, so I'm going to pop this open a little bit so that I can grab around the base and kind of peel some fibers up, hopefully. There we go. Got a little bit started. I think I want scissors. I own like 82 pairs of scissors. Can I ever find a pair? There's never one handy. All right, just going to clip that just a little bit right there and see if I can start pulling off of there. Apparently not. All right, let's clip this open a bit more. 80 pairs of scissors and none of them cut. I gotta cut some tin foil with these. Okay, so now we got there. Once you can get it to start pulling apart, then you can get some fibers and start drafting. All right, so we have a good start here. Let's get this joined on. Like seriously, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just making it up as I go along, quite literally. All right, so we'll get this joined and then we'll start drafting, get all this spun on all the way down to our cocoon. And now we're just going to pull fibers off the cocoon. Okay, it's getting awfully thin again, so let's see if we can these cocoons, man, they're freaking tough, I tell you. So I'm just pulling right there and getting the fibers out. There we go. All right. Now we're going to spin that. Oof, we've gotten really fine, so let's try to spin on something a little thicker. There we go. Okay, so we've lost this one, so let's get a little fiber off of this one. Oh. Just add that back in. We'll pull a little more off the edge there. Okay, now we're going to go back to trying to spin this, because why not? Going to pull that little chunk out there because that's a little too big. All right. You can see how the edge is really fluffy here, so I'm going to try pulling it this way. And it's literally peeling into layers. It's interesting. And then from those layers, we can pull it open. And then draft off of those. And anytime it starts to get too thin, we'll go back and we'll tear some more. So this is actually just tearing open the Saracen so that the silk fibers can then be drafted. Okay, take that piece off and we'll go to this one. See what we can find on the surface. And then work our way to the edge and start pulling off of there. So basically I'm just abusing these cocoons. But this is just, it's such an interesting thing to do. Like, I'm absolutely fascinated by how this is going. Now, I shouldn't have used dyed cocoons because I'm wasting all that beautiful color because I'm losing it all in the processing. But this is still really fun. So I would do this with undyed cocoons and then dye them afterwards. because this is really fun. You don't have to reel the silk. You don't have to do anything but soak them and rip them apart. Which I'm sure hurts some people's hearts, but you know, I cut silk too. I'm a monster. I don't know how much of this is actually on camera because I'm focused on what I'm doing and not looking at the camera to see if I'm actually in view. But hopefully you're seeing enough to get an idea of what I'm doing here. All right, so while it does work, it does seem to take forever. And we do end up with a lot of this left over. So the other thing I wanted to try was snipping up a cocoon and using it as Tweety bits in a yarn. So I have some BFL here, but I was thinking, what if instead of just cutting up a cocoon, we take one of our softened cocoons, get the water out of it, and we make our Tweety bits, kind of pull them a bit so they're got fibers hanging off them. So maybe they'll stick in a little better. I'll show you what I mean. Okay. So there's a Tweety bit. There's a Tweety bit. So they're not noils so much as they are just little bits. I guess we can just pull it all in one and then just cut it up. Yes, I said cut. I cut silk. You just saw me cut open this cocoon, so don't be surprised. This is fun. Just tearing apart cocoons, and I'm just having the time of my life here. I don't know what's wrong with me, but there it is. Okay, take that big bit out. Okay. So I got some bits here to start with. Just one little chunk of roving. And hopefully it'll draft onto this silk. There we go. Okay. And take a little bit of silk. Just kind of. Okay, so it's not going to be Tweety bits. It's just going to be chunks. All right. Well, you know, I wanted to see what would happen. Let's reverse our holds here, though. So draft that. Crease her up, take a little bit here. There we go. Okay, so spin a little bit. Grab a piece and just kind of work it in with the yarn, or with the wool, I should say. Grab a little piece. Work that in with the wool. I need one more hand. Okay. Get this going. And grab a little piece. And spin that in. them together maybe. Oh yeah, I like drafting them together. That turns out cool. Okay. Oop. Except we ran out of wool. Okay. Now, let's take this bit off the wheel. I'm going to apply all of this. Oh, guess we're not, because it just broke. So, we're just going to tie this on. And, oops, I forgot. I got a reverse thread. Oh my goodness, I actually really like how this looks. So here's our quick sample applied back on itself. And it's got like this. Oh, I really, really like this look. Okay, I guess I know what I'm doing. I really like it. Okay. I figured out what I'm going to do. So here are my very own silk hankies spun into a yarn. It's so soft and fluffy, I can't even tell you. And it's got a really nice sheen to it. I'm surprised it held on to that much shine with all the abuse I put it through. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to prep a bunch of soaked cocoons to do some more yarn that looks like this because I really like it. It's pretty. And you can still see the colors of the cocoons, which is a bonus. So I'm going to get that all prepped and then we will spin the yarn. All right, so here we go. This is interesting. Can you hear how papery that is? I mean, it's very interesting. I don't hate it. It's just very crunchy. I think I liked letting it dry and then spinning it in, like here, because it gives it that softer texture and it's more open. So I think that is what I would do, is soak those, card them open, and then let it dry and spin it in. So I think that's what I'm going to do with the dyed cocoons that I have, so I can use them up and not lose that color. But for sure, you can't do anything much with them once they've been dyed without stripping away the color, which is generally why we buy them, because they're so pretty. So that's going to be the end of this experiment for today. Before I go, I think I'm going to knit this up so we can see what it would look like in a knitted sample. Okay, I'll be back in a bit. All right. Hey, look, I got a wing sticking out of my head. Ooh. So I just stitched up a little sample here. And you can see how textured it is. But this is the section where I'd open that fiber, then let it dry, then spread it out to spin it in. And I'm actually really, really, really liking this. So that's what I'm going to do with the remainder of these cocoons, I think. They're definitely crunchy, and using them wet is it leaves too big a tweedy bit. Too much tweed. But I don't hate it. It's just not right. So it's kind of a cool little experiment. All right, so I'm apparently going to go and put some silk cocoons into boiling water to soften before I open them up with my hand cards and make myself a nappy yarn. I have here my mangled cocoons. They've all been busted open and into like these little more open bits. Now they're still wet, so I'm going to spread them out and let them dry. And once they're dry, I believe I'm going to card them into roll eggs. So I will use my BFL. Might be a little long. I might have to find a different fiber. Well, no, because this is long too. They'll be fine. So I'll use my BFL and I will make some roll eggs. So next time that you see it, we should be spinning roll eggs. Here we have our brushed out silk cocoons blended with some BFL. And now I'm going to spin them up. So let's get to it. here we go. I just chain plied it, and it made this chunky, bumpy, textured yarn with these pops of color. Now these bits are very stiff still because they do have the Saracen or whatever it's called in it. They haven't been degummed. So there are little bits of cocoons I've just been plucking out. And here's the yarn. So I'm going to knit up a quick swatch with it just so we can get an idea of what it'll look like when used as a yarn. And I will be back. And it's done. Here is our swatch. You can see the pretty pops of color, a lot of texture, but that silk is pretty rough. I don't hate it. I think for just experimenting that it turned out not too bad. But was all the work worth it? You're not going to believe me when I say this, but no, not really. So this would work good if you've purchased some cocoons and you just don't know what to do with them and you want to use them. I'd suggest doing this. Just a nice hot water soak. Open them up. Blend them with another fiber. Spin it up. Because it is pretty. And it's definitely unique. But I think the better plan would be just buy some cocoons. Degum them. Turn them into silk hankies. And spin them from that. That would be my thing to suggest. This has been fun. And like I said, I don't hate it. It's just, it's a lot. Too much for me. But I did love the colors of the cocoons. And if I think of some other way to use them in the future, or if you have any suggestions, let me know. But that's it for today, guys. Thanks for joining me. Bye.